Hello there, I'm Panther H, and I'm here to review porn games. Mostly Japanese ones, but maybe some others as well. With that said, let's get started. Recently, I've played The Last Embryo, either of Brave the Story, whatever the fuck that means. The game folder calls itself The Last Embryo, the beginning story, meaning that it's hinting at a sequel someday. And having played through the entire thing, yes, the story does slap you with a to be continued at the end. Let's start with the character designs, since that's the one that nags me the most. There's some difference between the art of the main characters and the sides, and unfortunately I prefer the sides. 5 minutes into the game and I'm met with a girl with an uncomfortable head to body ratio. She seems to be one of the main characters despite being pretty useless. The female side characters all look pretty cute while our main character's design looks a bit sloppy, despite looking cool in the title screen. And now the plot. You are a swords girl with a skimpy skirt, and you arrive at the development town. Perhaps the translation is a bit wonky, but I assume it's a town that is still growing and shit, and not a town full of developers. You are hoping to become an adventurer or something and make a name for yourself, and that's it. Sure, eventually there's some inferiority complex and I want to protect my friends kind of shit, but I don't particularly care. However, the writing strikes me as an odd fellow. Most of the plot felt rather shallow. Mostly just some place is being attacked, get there and solve the problem. But I guess that is an accurate example of the standard adventurer life. The dialogue had a lot of shit in it as well. Trying to play some dry ass humor like, "Oh ho, you have defeated my 4 kings. I only destroyed 3 people on my way here. Our battle will be legendary." And that bit where the legendary monster was a pervert who liked to steal your mom. Also a part where the game seems to ship the protagonist with a monster on more than one occasion. The game also divided itself into chapters, but apparently forgot about it after chapter 3 or 4, and it strikes me as strange because beyond the crappy dialogues and the shallow plot, there seems to be some effort at world building, hinting shit like mankind winning the war against the gods or something 1,000 years ago, and a war is currently raging in a different continent, which ended while we were finishing our quest in the woods. There seems to be something interesting happening out there. Shame we have to do our chores here in Boringsville. Earlier I did say the plot was shallow, but it'd be more accurate to say that the plot has a large variety of intensities. It's all over the place. The point where it suddenly escalated was that after defeating ancient dragons who were burning towns and eating humans and shit, German troops crossed the Polish border. Well, okay, that didn't happen, but it escalated about as much. I'm satisfied with the ending though. It gives a nice build-up and determination showing to give me a slight bit of interest in a sequel. As for gameplay, it doesn't really use the standard RPG Maker system of walk to a place, random encounters and such. It gives you a world map and a pointer and points of interest to point to. These interests include story segments, villager gossips, shops, enemy encounters, and treasure. The combat has a feature on the corner of the screen where you and your foes race each other on a line to get a turn, though the combat as a whole is insultingly easy. It provides the usual options: attack, physical attack skills, magic, items, and guard, also known as the fuck you I'm invincible. Guarding nullifies almost every physical attack, halves or mitigates 90% of magical attacks, and also regenerates 10% of your fucking health back. Guarding is supposed to be something you want to use as few as possible to focus on kicking enemy ass, but here we can just turtle our way through with no problem. There's only one enemy that kills you for guarding, and that's just a mini-boss. Even with this overpowered guarding, the game still feels the need to help the poor homeless players. The boss battles are bloody overloaded with scripts, off-screen allies delivering attacks worth thousands of damage, and pretty much a full heal every few turns. I could have won the battle myself. I know I have no choice but to admit that I won with the power of friendship and shit. But whatever helps me finish the game faster, I guess. There's also a hard mode after you finish the game, but I'm not going to bother with that. And now for the adult content. I don't really have much to say about this one. Just like the game doesn't really have much adult content, only 20 scenes or something. Maybe that's okay for a 2 to 5 hour long game. The art is okay, I guess. The content, however, is quite lacking. Half of which are the usual monster scenes. Strangely, most of them didn't particularly have a rapey theme. A quarter of the scenes are futanari scenes, which I'm not particularly fond of, but I won't judge the people who are much. 2 or 3 of the scenes were just baiting scenes with nothing really juicy happening. Well, at least there's an unlock all button after you end the game. Not really worth getting a stiffy for. On the scale of guns, it's probably just a tiny little 5cm Pac-36. Overall, crappy plot, competent but insultingly easy combat, and crappy porn. Maybe buy it if you have an obsession with girls with skimpy skirts and white hair. Well, I did say the ending was fine, but I think the game's plot has peaked already. What's next after starting a world war? Start an even bigger war?